Kamen Rider Geats has recently had its finale, and there are a ton of characters, a groundbreaking amount of riders, so many that I do not have enough time to cover all of them in my upcoming season review, so I've decided to do a separate video today, ranking all of them based on my opinion. Hello everyone, it's thomasjujube, and before I get into the tier list, looking at all the Kamen Rider Geats characters, be sure to let me know in the comment section what are some of your favorite characters as the video goes on. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on my opinions, or just give your own opinions on the characters. I'll also leave a link to the actual tier list I'm using in the description if you'd like to use that yourself, and then share the image with me on various social media platforms. Also, as I briefly mentioned, I do have my big season review of the show coming up, so if you want to hear my thoughts on the entire season, not just the characters, make sure you're subscribed to this channel or check out my Patreon where it'll go up there early as soon as I'm done with it. Now let's actually get into the tier list. I've obviously done tier lists before, but I've never done it on YouTube, so I apologize if maybe this all goes horribly wrong. But let's start with obviously the main character. We'll just go in the order I've put the images in here. Ukyo Ace, and I mean, I think it should go without saying that I'm going to put Ace in S tier. Really, this is probably the best character of the show, or actually I do have one that I like more, but I think Ace is definitely the best written character because he starts off as like just a fun character. You know, he's the cocky asshole, but he's like really good at the game, and at the same time he's playing to save people, so it's like, well, he's not that bad of a guy. But then his character arc in the season is becoming like the typical Kamen Rider, to the point where at the end of the show everyone's rallying around him because he's trying to create a world where everyone can be happy. And if that was like his goal at the beginning of the show, or like even in another season, that would be kind of boring, but making it his goal at the end and we see him reach that point is really awesome. Also, another thing I don't really see too many people talk about is the reincarnation thing with Ace. Is just like a really interesting aspect of his character, because he's already pre-established as Geats when the show starts, but then when they reveal he's like been reincarnating, it just adds this other layer. Like, he's not just pre-established as Geats, he's been a person on this planet for 2,000 years, which is really interesting. And the fact they use that to tie into the wish system in Boost Mark II, where Boost Mark II, he only gets Boost Mark II because he's the first reincarnation to decide to save the world, because the wish was, when my future self, or if my future self decides to save the world, give them a power-up. 4 Aces said that, created Boost Mark II. I just think that's a really fun tie into like character toys and etc., but it like adds character development as well. So Ace, absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to see him in future stuff. Next up is the secondary rider, Kawa, and unfortunately I don't think he's on Ace's level, S tier, but I don't think he's bad. I'll put him in A. My thing with Kawa is, like, I think in the beginning he's really interesting. I really like that he starts off as like, he's the normal Kamen Rider protagonist. He wants world peace and he wants to save people. And then he kind of goes through like some mini development as the first few episodes go on, where he switches from I want world peace to save the people killed in the Desire Grand Prix. And then at the end, I do like the Bujin sword twist. It's just fun to see. He was so happy-go-lucky, and then he takes a twist, and now he's all dark and brooding, and then he comes back to the light side, and it's nice. They don't drag it out. It's just, the sad thing is, in the middle of the show, like, that's the beginning and end of the show. In the middle, I don't think they really did much with him. And, like, I still enjoyed him as a character. He has his moments. It's not like a big character arc. It's like, we did some things, then nothing, then more things. Kamen Rider Nago. I almost said Kamen Rider Neon, because Neon is not a normal name, but that's her name, I guess. But it's a joke because Akari is light. As you can see, I'm dragging her around. Like, I'd like to put her on S tier, because I do think I'd say she's probably my favorite female rider. I like the goal of trying to find true love. Like, it kind of seems like oh, the girl wants to get married. It's like generic and stuff. But putting it in the Desire Grand Prix with Neon is interesting. Like, it adds a unique twist that isn't just she wants to get married. And also, as like many of us speculated since the beginning, it's not just she wants to get married, she specifies true love, and it's kind of fun to see her find that with her friends. Like, you know, I would argue her and Ace like have a really like great sibling dynamic, and I think the twist where she's a creation of the goddess is something I wasn't expecting. Like, I didn't think they would go that route. It gives her this interesting place in this universe, and especially too, like Keiwa, her wish changes. She goes from I want true love to everyone forgets about me. I don't deserve to be here. I have two problems with Neon, which is why I'm gonna bring her down to A tier. First off, making her the Deza star did nothing. I would have liked if maybe the beginning of the Yamato Grand Prix, they're a bit wary of her because she just lied to them for an entire season of the Desire Grand Prix, and then perhaps when we then have the twist reveal that she's made by the goddess, then that kind of further alienates her. Like, they won't, like, obviously they won't care, like, that she's the same Neon to them, but perhaps from her perspective, she's like, oh, they already are upset with me because I was the Deza star, now I'm just a fake person, now they really won't like me, further pushing her with Kyun. Then the other thing is the conclusion's just a bit iffy to me. I don't really mind the dad, like her teaming up with Time Fire, or not teaming up, well, they do kind of team up, but like her resoluting her relationship with her dad is nice, but I don't really like it with the mom, just because they showed the mom slapping her on screen. I'm glad her conclusion to the arc was true love was finding a family, and she was able to find it with her family that raised her, which is nice, but it is a bit disappointing. Like, she's not like, well, Ace and I are like siblings, and Keiwa and I are friends, and Michi is there sometimes. They don't really talk, but yeah, that's why I bring her down to A, but I still think she's really neat. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. We're putting Buffa in S tier. Michi Naga. Michi is my favorite character. I thought he was just, you know, he was just a guy in the first couple of arcs, but once he died and he goes over to the Yamato side, that's when I found him super cool. First of all, I just think it's really cool they did the Christmas death, and everyone's like, oh, Buffa's gonna come back in like 5 episodes, and then they were like, no, you know he's still alive. We're bringing him back next episode, and he's becoming like his own protagonist. He has his own different journey from the other main 3 characters. I think that's really unique. And obviously his backstory of trying to avenge Toru, who was killed by Kamen Rider, he's like, I'm just gonna get rid of all Kamen Riders, makes sense. Then when he teams up with Yamato, it's like an interesting corruption arc to give a character, but at the same time it doesn't feel like a corruption arc, because it's like, well, he wanted to get rid of Kamen Riders, and so do the Yamato, so you might as well work with the Yamato, especially now you're half Yamato, I guess. But then he gets his wish, which is awesome, and then, like, he doesn't kill Kamen Riders, he's just saving them. Saving them. He crushes their cores, and now they don't need to fight in a Desire Grand Prix, and they might not die from a Desire Grand Prix. And then he comes back to the light at the end, and he, like, believes in Ace's wish to create a world where everyone can be happy. And it doesn't feel like a weird redemption arc, because again, we set him up as a hero. He works with the Yamato, gets his wish, and now instead of fighting Yamato, he wants to destroy the Desire Grand Prix. And Ace had just learned about the goddess being his mother, so now he's like, oh, I guess I want to destroy the Desire Grand Prix too. And now they're back together, essentially. So essentially they've both switched sides, I guess. So Punk Jack I've included here as the next one, because they've basically kind of market him as the 5th rider, and he's like the only other like deluxe ID core release, which is weird. I'm gonna put him in C. This character is nothing for me. He doesn't do anything wrong, but like, he doesn't do anything. Like, I really like Mute Punk Jack. That was just really fun. When he became a normal dude, it was just like, alright, whatever. I'm going to put Sumuri in S, I guess. It's either S or A for her. She started as a bad guy, because she's Desire Grand Prix management. But because she's the navigator, she's like the main hero, or the main heroine in our eyes. But as we kind of unravel the Desire Grand Prix secrets, and it's like, wait, this is not a good like thing that's happening. She's not like villainous, but it's like she had a role in all of this. When Buffa got his wish and started getting rid of rider cores, but Chirami kept sending them out, and she was like, why are we doing this? You're supposed to, we're getting Kamen Riders like to play a game or to fight Yamato. You're just sending them out, not to their death, but to just be retired, to be defeated. There's no purpose in this, and like that's when she gets disillusioned with the Desire Grand Prix, and then she becomes a hero. Basically, yeah, then she really becomes a hero and works with Ace against the management. So yeah, I think I will put her in S. Shiro is our first Kamen fodder rider, so I'll put him in S just because he lasts for like 10 seconds of screen time and then he dies. Actually, you know what? I think I'll just put him in A because he doesn't do anything, but it's fun. Because Ginpen is like basically the same thing. Ginpen is where like it really got set, because again, everyone thought Shiro was going to die, but to see it happen was like, okay, yes, we are committing to, here's a Kamen Rider, oh, they're dead. But with Ginpen is where, actually, I'm putting Ginpen in S, because when they did it with Ginpen, I lost my mind. I was like, there's no way, because that is a dude they put on the poster. He's in the first trailer. Like, he was marketed as like one of our main, like he wouldn't have as much focus as Ace or Neon, but he was gonna be like one of our main riders. Initially we thought, no, he's dead in episode 2. He also gets a single fight and is knocked out, and that's crazy to me. I still can't believe they did that, I'm not gonna lie. Dupont, I think I'll make him our first B tier, because like he doesn't really do a ton to be like, wow, this is like such a standout rider, but I don't hate him. Like, he does the job. A lot of these riders are going to be like, they do the job of being in the show. And also, I'll just throw Mary onto that as well. They'll both be B, because they kind of fill the same role of being like a minor antagonist in their arcs in the first game, and they do it well. We'll put Letter in S just because she deserved better. She could have gotten a fight scene maybe and then die, or die in the next episode, perhaps. Kalo, I want to put him in S kind of because he's fun. Like, he's the old man rider. He comes back in the movie. That's a lot of fun. I feel like I'm putting too many people in S now. Maybe I'll move them both to A. Let's put them both in A, because Letter deserved better. Kalo, I mean, maybe he also deserved better, but he's still the 2 little episodes, or no, he's in 3, I think. They're a lot of fun. It's just fun to have an old man Kamen Rider. And Hirori is very strange to me, because he's just kind of weird in the initial arcs where he's Glare, because he's just like, I need to get rid of it. he's like, I've had enough of this. I don't need Ace anymore. And like that was kind of it. Like, it was kind of funny. It was more funny than like threatening to me that he's like breaking like all the rules of the Desire Grand Prix. He's willing to just let things go crazy. He lets a staff in just so he can get rid of Ace. And it's like, do you just hate Ace that much? I'll put him in B. Lopo, I will put in A tier, I guess, because she's like Kalo, I feel, where, you know, she just serves the job in the few episodes she's in, but she's just like an interesting character in the few episodes she's in. Like, not really because of her wish. Like, her wish is like, it's nice. Actually, same with Kalo. Like, his wish is kind of boring. Both of their wishes are kind of boring, but it establishes some characterization. But just their moments in the episodes are what I find interesting. Like, it's really cool that Lopo, like, she just wants to be able to help her family no matter what. But she sees Neon, who's like, I don't have a family, and I want to find one. And she realizes that maybe some wishes are more important than mine. And she sacrifices herself, essentially, but it's not like she kills herself. She just ousts herself as a Desastar. Natchsparrow is, super weird to me. If he was just in the 2 episodes, I'd probably would put him in B, but he sticks around, and that's unique. Like, I wasn't expecting him to stick around. The thing is, he sticks around and doesn't do anything. He stays with the Jamato garden, and then he obviously he makes the idea to get the Vision Driver, And then for the entire duration of the Yamato Grand Prix, he does nothing. I do like him as the Yamato leader, and afterwards I find him somewhat like just an interesting villain. Like, he's a dude we hate. I'll leave him in C. We're putting him in S because he eats food and it's kind of funny. And then he says like the reality things that is funny, and the Gazer suit is pretty cool. I'm not ranking the suits here, but the fact he's introduced as like kind of a good guy, because he defeats Girori, he fires him, and then the Desire Grand Prix is like back on track. So he's like essentially the guy who defeats our main boss for like the first third of the show. But as we all know, he's not a good guy. He goes on to become a villain. But it's not like a weird corruption arc. It's just like there's just differing tiers of like good and evil, I guess, going on throughout all of Geats, and I love that. So he's just like, he's a prime example of that. I'm gonna put Samas in D. What's the point of having this character if not for Niran to just like look a bit more like an asshole as he's telling an assistant to do things? But then like at the end they have her shoot Niran, and she's working with Jiddo and Swell, and it's just weird because she didn't do anything, and now suddenly she's supposed to be important. She was never important. She was just standing there. Chirami, I'm going to put in another A tier, because I find him really great. Like, I like that we can shift like game masters, and suddenly like the entire game, the show is like totally different, and he's similar to like Niram, and I guess not Girori was just kind of evil, but he's similar to Niram, where he's working with our heroes to fight the Yamato, but you're like, he's Desire. Now at this point we know the Desire Grand Prix is a bit messed up. It's like, can we really trust him? And then we get to the point where Buffa is attacking Kamen Riders, and he's sending them out to just get defeated, and he literally says, he's like, oh, I'm just trying to create a fun show. We've seen the whole episode of him destroying Kamen Rider cores, and it's like, Buffa kind of seems like the bad guy here, but Chirami's the one who sent them out. He's the one who sent, not to their deaths, but he's the one who sent them to their retirement, knowing Buffa would do that. So it's like, is Buffa really evil for doing that? Because Chirami's the one who's sending them out. So I'm gonna put Jean in S tier, because his arc is kind of generic. It is a lot like Paradox from Xaid, where he's not the secondary rider, but he's the Scrimblow gremlin friend of the primary rider, but then he learns to become a part of life, or he learns the meaning of life and helps the main rider get a power-up or something as he learns the meaning of life. Within the context of the games, makes it like a different kind of arc, because he's not evil. He's giving Ace power-ups. Like, he's a good guy in a sense, but because he's an audience member of the Desire Grand Prix, and he's letting these people's lives just get toiled around with, he is also kind of not villainous, but he's not a great person. But then as he realizes, like, wait, maybe I shouldn't be allowing this game where people are just getting, like, killed. I'm letting real people get killed. Then he switches and joins Ace's side against management. I'm going to put the Frogman in A tier. Not S. I don't really... Like Keiwa, I think, they don't do enough with him. Him and Keiwa never really got, like, just a specific focus episode where they fight together or something. So then when he becomes the antagonist in the final arcs, I do like that. There's just a weird disconnect. However, again, once he becomes the antagonist and he's this interesting commentary about what it means to be a true Kamen Rider, Sakurai Keiwa. I like the way he says Keiwa's name. He's really fantastic. And he's also a frog. Like, we all thought he was a dude talking out of a statue. No, he is a frog. Kyun is gonna go in B. I like his story with Neon. Like Jin and Kekara, I like that, he starts as an ally, but as you realize he's complicit in the Desire Grand Prix, he's a bit villainous. But obviously he switches and tries to help Neon with, like, working outside of the Desire Grand Prix limitations. He's just kind of, I don't know, he's whatever. He's not bad, but I don't like him as much as the other sponsors, like Beroba, who I'll also put him in her in B, and I might drop Kyun to C. B for Beroba, I guess. My thing with Beroba is just we never get her, like, why did she do the Jamato Grand Prix? She, like, we understand she wants to cause misery and stuff, but why team up with Michinaga to do that? She's always an antagonist, again, because she causes the Jamato Grand Prix. But I think it's interesting that, again, she's working with Buffa, and it's part of Buffa's, like, corruption arc as he becomes more villainous, and they're both in the Jamato Grand Prix. But then once he gets his wish, and he starts to become more heroic as he's trying to save Kamen Riders and destroy the Desire Grand Prix, but she stays villainous, so they split apart. So what was, like, one of our big duo, like, antagonists in the middle of the show, they fight each other in their final battles. I mean, not Buffa's final battle, but, like, his final arc of development, I guess. And I like that. That's, like, a really interesting, fun thing to do. I think I said the word interesting a lot, and I'd like to apologize for that right now, but it's not going to get any better. There's, like, I think the intent that Buffa becoming a Jamato, half Jamato, sets off, like, throws everything off the rails. Because she's introduced as the Jamato sponsor, not a rider supporter. So she was just giving Archimedal and the Jamato, like, funding. But then once Buffa becomes a Jamato and he's a Kamen Rider, she goes from a sponsor to a supporter, because Jean, when she walks into the room with Jean, he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm a rider supporter now because of Buffa. And then it seems like once she became a rider supporter, she got a laser raise riser, and then that lets her wreck everything, because that is what she uses to defeat Chirami and get the Vision Driver and send everything into chaos in the Jamato Grand Prix. So, like, I think if they maybe played up that plot development, because they don't really explicitly say it, it just is kind of implied, I guess, that Buffa becoming a Jamato Kamen Rider lets Beroba become a supporter with a raise riser, and that she should have never had that because she was clearly evil supporting the Jamato. Maybe Niram should have got rid of her, but it's neither here nor there. Archimedal, I'll put him with Beroba. I do, like, he definitely has one of the most memorable moments in the show where they just reveal he exists and he's farming Jamato, and we have finally become aware that Jamato are being cultivated by DGP management. But like some of the other characters, again, I do like that they killed him off. They knew when to get rid of him. I'm gonna put Toru in D. I included him because he's technically a Kamen Rider, but he's also the Jamato clone. And I don't like they got rid of him after 2 episodes. One of my biggest nitpicks with the Jamato Grand Prix is that it's just Buffa and monsters. We know Buffa's the only one on that team who will win, because he's the only one who has a wish. All the other Jamato don't have personalities, except Toru. But again, he's only in 2 episodes, so we never get to see what his wish would have been. I think we all know that Ben and John are going in S tier. Seeing Michael Kinder and Tom Constantine, two also English-speaking actors, become full-on Kamen Riders. Well, fortunately, they never get helmets, but, you know, it's still pretty fun. They both get to pose and say henshin multiple times, and they seem pretty happy about that, at least. I'm gonna put Groovy in D. I only put him on this because he was a Kamen Rider. He's part of the fun cannon fodder thing where they can grab a rider helmet, spray paint it, stick it on a man, bring in a suit actor to play because he's like Vice's suit actor and stuff. Or no, he's the main suit actor of Gotchard, isn't he? So yeah, I mean, like, it's cool they can do that, but it's also just like, he doesn't, why, I don't want to make an F tier for him, but I genuinely cannot find it in myself to put him on any other tier because he's just there. Sarah is going to be on A tier or B tier. I think I'll stick with B tier because again, like a lot of the other characters on this list, she's just a fine supporting character for Keiwa, to give Keiwa his, you know, his mission, his ambitions. I really like when she becomes a Kamen Rider. Like, I think it's just really neat that we can introduce a side character as a rider, like, well into the season. But it's not like a weird thing. Like, they didn't give her an arc to become a rider, but because of the framework of the season where random people just get chosen as players to become Kamen Riders, it's like, oh, yeah, of course, yeah, it makes sense. These two dudes, I do not know their civilian names. I just know this one is Tarbon, and this one's Broadly. And this is also, okay, I think I'm gonna make a new tier. Cannon fodder. Tarbon and Brawly and Groovy it's just fun to get, you know, repaint helmets and new cores, and they don't need a whole new form. Don't want to put them in D because they serve purposes, actually, like way more than Groovy, but they're not interesting characters to me. I'm gonna put the dad in B tier. I already kind of talked about his thing with Neon. I mean, first of all, Time Fire as a Kamen Rider, and he does a Time Fire pose. That's nice. That's pretty cool. I am close to putting him in Cannon Fodder because I like that we can throw him as a Kamen Rider just to introduce a new buckle, and then it's Neon's final form. So it's just like he's in there to introduce her final form, to bring her back, re-entry her by introducing like his core. I just think it's kind of weird that he, I don't know, like, I don't want to say he gets a redemption because he never acted super overbearing, at least in my perspective, to the point where I'm fine that him and Neon kind of rekindle a relationship. It's the mom that I really don't like it. So I'm going to put the mom in D. This has been very controversial online, so this is just my opinion. I don't really like that she, like, doesn't get a redemption, but it's just, it doesn't really sit right with me, that whole thing with her. With the dad, it's fine. Jiddo, and you go in D, you go in D, and you go in D. These three are really boring. Actually, you know what? I'll put Jiddo in C, just because his fight scenes are kind of fun. Black Sumeri is just kind of a plot device. She doesn't have a character. But Jiddo and Swell as our final antagonists it's really disappointing. Swell was fine as the Desire Royale antagonist, and to be the one defeated by Boost Mark 9 was great. Like, I liked that. If we didn't have Jiddo, or had Jiddo and Swell working together, like, get rid of Samas. You don't need Samas. Or actually, maybe you could keep Samas and replace Jiddo or Swell. Essentially, just let's have whoever kills Niram is the next game master. Even they killed the producer, but let's have whoever killed Niram is the next game master. They're the antagonist of the creation arc. They are working with Swell. Swell was defeated, obviously, so let's have him, like, keep him as a mask, or like the mask he has. Keep him like that, or maybe they're just talking to Swell in the future because he's defeated. And then have their goal of getting the goddess Sumeri to bring back Swell from the future, or, like, revive him, whatever happened to him. Make him physical. And then, like, when they can't do that with Sumeri because she's not a complete goddess or whatever. Then once they create Black Goddess Sumeri, then she revives Swell. He comes with the Girion driver. Then let him give the new game master, producer, whatever, that Girion driver. They fight with Ace. They lose. And Swell's like, surprise, this was all part of my plan. Now I have all your Geats 9 data in this belt. And now I can become the final antagonist. Granted, I think that would only move him to C tier because he's just kind of a man. He's just there. It's kind of disappointing. He's the final boss. I guess he's serviceable. You know, the show moved on to be, let's destroy the Desire Grand Prix. He's a guy. He's the guy who made it. I'm sure you can see there are 3 others. I didn't include these just like for future reference. If you'd like to use this tier list, you can include them. I will include Kaima because I did review that movie and watch it. I'm going to put him in C. Unfortunately, I'd like to put him higher. I did discuss this in that video, so I won't go too in depth. It's very interesting. He's a prior Deza Shin, and he comes back working with the other guy. but he doesn't. Then, like, he's working for his dad. His wish is so his dad becomes a political entity, rival, super person, whatever. I don't know how politics works. And then these other two, I haven't seen anything they're from, so they're there. I just figured let's include all the other Kamen Riders in the season. I don't know who these people are besides their Kamen Rider forms. So that's gonna be my ranking. I like this cast. Like, I mean, at the very least, our main characters are incredibly fun and interesting, and they're the ones the show focuses on. So, and all the others are like, even if they're there for 5 seconds, they're a fun spice character. So once again, be sure to let me know your favorite Geats characters, or you can do a list, or again, you could do this tier list. Make sure you're subscribed so you can see my full season review of Geats in a couple of days, or you can check out my Patreon because it's going to go up there early. And let me know if you'd like to see more of these tier list videos. I usually do rankings, but if this does well, if you guys enjoy it, then I might consider doing more tier rankings, at least with, like, you know, if there's a lot of characters like this. So let me know, check out the links, and I hope to see you next time.